first got married, I didn't know that men and women were very different. And that's me putting it mildly. Men, I think they're not that special of human beings. They're not like women at all. And I don't know whether it is that their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, because they are always trying to sabotage themselves somehow. They can be self-destructive. So when I got married, my husband would do some certain things, and I would just wonder, can't you see that this isn't safe? They like risks naturally. I mean, crazy things. They would do crazy things. So there was one day my husband and a friend went to buy, I know if you live in Nigeria at that time, that was about 20 years ago, but almost 20 years now, they used to buy most of their cars from Cotonou, Benin Republic. So they would go to Cotonou and drive it into Nigeria. So my husband went with a friend. They wanted to buy a car to surprise one of their friends. So he told me, I'd be back at this time. And so I was newly married, maybe about 6 months or maybe less. So he got into Cotonou and I didn't hear from him. He told me he was busy, so I didn't expect a call. You know how your husband would check in, but I didn't hear anything from him. But I had this nudging in my spirit to pray. And I said, I'll get around to it. But it was such a strong urgency. The Holy Spirit said, no, now, pray now. So I didn't know what to pray. And the Bible says we know not how to pray, but the Holy Spirit makes intercessions. So I started to pray in the Spirit. I started to pray in tongues. And as I was praying. I prayed until I had this peace, there's a release, like it's okay, everything is fine. But the Holy Spirit said, check the time. So I checked the time and I took note of the time and continued what I was doing. My husband got back very late at night, very late. When he got back, I was asking, why did you just come back so late? This is ridiculous. It's not nice. It's not safe to be outside. And he said, you won't believe what happened to us today. While we were at the car lot trying to buy a car, a fight broke out between Nigerians and Benin Republic people. And they started fighting. He said, right where I was standing, Africans can be violent. Right where I was standing, he said somebody took a wooden plank, and he hit a Nigerian on the head, and there was blood everywhere, and everyone started fighting. He said while we were fighting, it was obvious who was Nigerian and who was Beninois, because Nigerians are a bit fairer than they are. So they could recognize, and then Pastor K was very fair. And the person he went with is not fair, he's yellow. So he said in the midst of that, they were confused. What's going on? In a split second, this thing happened. He said one woman came out and tapped him and said, two of you follow me, and took him into his shop and closed the shop and left them there for hours. Then came back and said to him, everything is fine now, you guys should cross now. I asked him, at what time did this woman come to get you? It was the exact time I finished praying. So imagine I didn't have that as part of my weaponry. I'm telling you that there's something you have that can defeat Satan all the time. So you don't need to be afraid. I know that the person you're fighting with or the person you're playing with is not playing with you. Prayer changes everything.